Good morning, everybody. Shift Your Mindset here with a new episode. Today's episode is: when is it enough for you and you start fading away from the religion? One of the chickens also has enough of it, getting disturbed by another one. So she's making clear, out of here. When are we gonna say it's enough? I deserve more. It's in the Jehovah's Witness religion, but it's also in the outside world. When is it enough? When are you gonna listen to yourself instead of other people? When I was a Jehovah's Witness, one of the first things I can remember was when they sold the kingdom halls, or they gave the kingdom halls to the governing body. As a young boy, I didn't understand it, and I had a discussion with my father, and he couldn't give me the right reasons in that time. That was my first red flag I can remember. Because we paid for the congregation hall, now it's been given to the governing body to Watchtower. That was for me as a little boy, I remember, already a no-no. Because when I see it in the outside world, sometimes you have rental houses, like in the Netherlands, you have rental houses and it's managed by a corporation. And that corporation stops with renting it out and they start selling those houses. People can get a mortgage and for a reduced price you can buy those homes, ex-rental homes. But if you sell those homes within a certain time of period, a few 10 years or whatever, if you make more money than you bought it for, you have to split it with that corporation. So you get an advantage to buy a house a little bit cheaper than the market value, but if you sell it and there's a surplus, you get more money than you paid for, then you have to split it. You can choose for that, but it's a more honest way, I think, than giving it out to the governing body. Because just before I left years ago, 4 years ago I think, we wanted to do some upgrades on the audio and the video, because we were the only congregation in the Netherlands who recorded the meetings, put it in jw.org, and if there's another congregation around the world who speaks Dutch and they're missing a speaker on Sunday, or something goes wrong, or there's not enough speakers for them, they can just play that congregation meeting of our Kingdom Hall. If you are sick at home, you could watch it also. So you have a little bit of the feeling that you are around brothers and sisters and you can enjoy the whole thing through video and audio. Not only audio, but only to video. So we wanted to upgrade some things, but Bethel said no, it's too expensive, we don't do it. So now every time you want something, you have to file for something with Bethel, you have to check it, but most of the time they say no. So they keep it as low budget as they can. I know people who invested $10,000 or euros in a place for the bicycles outside the congregation hall, all going to Watchtower. And we see it now, they're merging congregation halls, they're merging congregations, and they're selling off those congregation halls. And the congregation gets nothing in return. No, what they get in return is that if you have twice the amount on your bank account for covering a month for utilities, gas, lights, whatever, then they already urge you and want you to transfer that amount to the branch. And we had a lot of rich families, famous families in my congregation, my last congregation. So there was going a lot of money towards the branch. You only are allowed to have 2 or 3 months coverage for all the costs for that Kingdom Hall. So that was my first red flag from the organization. And we all have different experiences when it is enough. Someone speaks out immediately, another person let it boils up for years, and then suddenly the bucket is full and they explode and they go. But it's interesting nowadays that the governing body is putting all the weight on the rank and file people. They don't print anything anymore. One of the biggest red flags for me that I started to think about fading away or just be disassociated or disfellowship, whatever I could find, was the overlapping generation. I think that's one of the biggest failures of the governing body of the last, 10 years already that it was. Nobody could explain me the overlapping generation in a good way. I think that was the biggest failure of the governing body in recent times. And of course, starting with the broadcast. Because starting with the broadcast, it was all about the governing body, and doing as they are Jesus. But we all have different things we can swallow before we start to question ourselves, motives of the governing body, to seeing through the facade what's going on. And for me, it's important that I feel that someone has my back. I can depend on my wife. We can differ in opinions, we can fight sometimes, but I know she has my back and does everything she needs to keep me safe, joyful, appreciated, whatever. She will always defend me. And that's gonna be, I think, this year, from this year on forward, I'm thinking that that is something that most people are being disappointed in. Because in Russia, there are people sitting in a prison cell. In Malawi, there's still brothers already 25 years in a prison cell. And nobody is fighting for them. Nobody. I don't even know if the people in Russia gets visited by the elders every week or every day, or by a governing body member. Because when I work in a company and something happens, a client accuses you of something, or doing your job not right, or there is something wrong, my boss had my back. He supported me. If they were talking to me in a wrong way, disrespectful, he said, we're gonna end this conversation because you're not gonna disrespect my people. But what the governing body is doing, they let people die in a prison cell. They're not fighting for them. They urge maybe other brothers and sisters to write to Putin a letter. I didn't do that. I didn't write the letter because that was my red flag that I thought, hey, this is not the way we should do this. It's not gonna help our brothers and sisters. Why? Because Russia sees the brothers and sisters in Russia as a product of an American entity. They are the enemy of Russia, America. So all the influence from America in Russia, they don't want. So they don't want Jehovah's Witnesses in Russia, and we're only making it worse by writing it. And we're only reinforcing his fight against everything that comes from the United States. So people, when is it enough for you? Before now, people are following Watchtower, following every direction. They have to go back in the closet. They are thinking that they maybe have to hide in the basement with a secret door knock and that everything is gonna be all right. But recent events show us that the governing body is withdrawing from you, that the governing body is taking their hands off their people. When push comes to shove, and the CSA cases is one of them, they're gonna blame it on the elders of that congregation. Now with the shunning, they say we don't have policies in place, we don't advise people, there is no guidance about shunning. So now, you, rank and files, you are responsible for shunning your own daughter and son. You are getting the blame. And they just sweeping their street clean just to live a lavish lifestyle while you are rotting away in a prison, maybe in Russia or another country. They are not having your back. They are not your friend. They are not your brother. They are investing. Stephen Lett is investing $250,000 here, $250,000 there with his brother. While he made a vow of poverty, he's investing in things. They're buying houses for ex-governing body members. And what are they doing for the family in Russia, for where that brother is sitting in prison? What are they doing for that woman, for his wife and maybe his kids? Or his family? Are they sending them money on a monthly basis to travel maybe to prison? I don't know how much money that family has, but I can think of that it's more expensive than your normal expenses were, because now you have to go there and you have to do this. Are they taking care of other people? They let you rot in prison and you are handed over to the authorities. But someone who's a predator in the congregation, they refuse to hand over to the authorities. They refuse to inform the congregation that there is someone amongst them who has not the best intentions with children. Let's phrase it that way. Are families being warned? No. Till this day, they don't send someone to the authorities. Luckily that the government is filing charges and putting people away. But it's not about the Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to mark somebody. You can get this fellowship for sex or smoking, but they fail to report someone with very bad intentions to the authorities when it comes to their children. So they're not having your back to protect the future generation. The most precious thing you have as a parent, a child. But they have no problem with people who are sitting in prison all alone, without having nothing, and they don't even take care of those families. They did a lot of damage during COVID to push the vaccine. It was all a personal choice. It was personal matter, medical things. In court cases, they say we're a religious organization, not a medical institution, to sweep the street clean. And now they are pushing a vaccine among their own people, with a lot of side effects at the moment. People are falling down left and right. We don't know what it's gonna be the next few years, because this is just getting started. So, when is it enough for you? When are you gonna think, like I did, hey, Kingdom Hall selling, not a good thing, but I was too young. Then, next best thing was the generational, the overlapping generation. That was my wake-up call. And my final push was during COVID, the start of COVID. The way they handled it, the way they took the honors for food parcels. Don't speak about it, no, of course not, because you got those food parcels from the government, but you distributed it to your people like you are the one who were giving the food parcels and they were coming from headquarters USA. No, you got them from the government and you gave them to people and you took the honor for it. Now in Norway we see it's a personal decision. And that's a middle finger to all the JWs. For 75 years they are trying to follow some man with the best intentions they have. I believe that. And now suddenly they change it and say, no, this is just how one family handled it. If you're not happy with it, take it up with that family. So now the family gets a liability. Maybe after this I can sue my own father and he's in trouble. I don't know where it's gonna end. But what I see now is they do everything to let you down. Everything where you invested your time and your money in is letting you down. If I follow someone, I also demand, but also expect that someone has your back, that someone is also fighting for you. If you see a demonstration, the guy who started that initiative is on the front line. He's fighting. He's demonstrating for rights. But here are the leaders locked up in their compound. Nobody sees them, nobody knows them. And they only appear on a broadcast to tell you beautiful things. But in the reality, in daily life, there is nothing that they back you up in any way. They're living outside of the world, not knowing what you have to endure, what you have to go through, what you experience, what your problems are. They don't have to work, they get your money. But you struggle to keep ends meet. So people, this is my call to action. think about what you are going through. Think about what you have done for this organization and ask yourself, do I get the satisfaction? Do I get the reward from them back? Do I get the same respect I have for the rules? Do they have the same respect for me as a person? There are still people being frustrated over the whole beard thing. I know a lot of JWs who say, I don't see them as JWs. I see them as worldly persons. I don't see people with a beard as a JW. And I understand that because it was forbidden for so long. Now suddenly it's out in the open and everything is alright. They let you down, but how many times do somebody have to let you down before you realize that it's you? That it's the only one you can blame is yourself. You can't blame it on anybody else anymore. Same as me as an ex-JW. If I get triggered by something my wife said to me, it's my problem. Because if I didn't get triggered, there was not a problem. But I get triggered and I put the problem on her. But you said this, and that is hurtful, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's your first reaction. But we are only responsible for ourselves. And we are the ones who are at fault. If we keep on listening to what other people tell us to do. I know it's hard for you because it's easier to just follow and don't think, but you are responsible for your own life, for your own joy and for your own health. And nobody else can influence your mind if you don't want to. Only I have control over what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. So when is it enough and when are you start trusting yourself? Please people, start trusting yourself, start trusting your gut feeling that you shut down for too long. If something doesn't feel right, examine it, research it, look at the facts, look at the circumstances, do your due diligence, do your research and make a good, a good choice. Choose what you want to believe, choose what you want to do, but start thinking on your own. Because the governing body is brushing everything off at the moment, and I think it will be worse. We will see a lot of things getting worse. And I think innocent people are the ones who are gonna take the fall for it. And that's not how it should be. So start your critical thinking, rely on yourself, trust your gut feeling, and start living your life on your terms. Thank you for watching. See each other on the next episode.